Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Okay, I always say it. I will hold myself accountable, you know that. Draft ended on Saturday. I was not here Monday, Tuesday, so let us begin with the thing that I shouted from the rooftops for weeks about this draft with respect to the New Orleans Saints. And I was, kind of dead wrong, but kind of 50% wrong. We'll let you decide. Give a listen. Chance that happened. If it were possible, I would bet everything I own that the Saints don't wait from pick 45 until round 5 to make another selection. We all know it's going to happen. There is zero. I don't like to speak in absolutes because everything I say is recorded. But there is a zero, clip it, Paul, a 0% chance that the Saints sit from pick 45 into round 5 and make 4 fifth-round picks. A 0% chance that happens. Well, they didn't, Muse. They didn't sit from pick 45 to round 5. They didn't do it.
They sat from pick 41.
Bingo!
To round. They waited longer.
I told you they weren't sitting there from pick 45 until round 5. I was right. They did not sit from pick 45 to round 5.
That's not how this works. They sat longer.
Nailed it.
They sat longer.
What's your point? I said they're not sitting there. But the other, what was the back part of that, Muse? What was the other thing I said? At the very end.
Oh, they're not going to make 4 fifth-round picks.
Did they make 4 fifth-round picks?
They didn't. That one I will give you.
That's the point.
That one I will give you.
They traded up. I did think that. So, yes, I certainly thought the Saints would make the pick at 45 and then move into round 3 or 4. There was never a chance they were going to make 4 fifth-round picks. They were always going to move, but they moved up from 45 to 41. So on a broad technicality, Muse, they didn't wait from pick 45 to round 5. They did move. They just moved up in round 2, which I would not have expected. So on a technicality, like letter of the law, you know what I mean? Letter of the law, they didn't sit from pick 45 to round 5. But we all know what I meant. And I'm curious with how the Saints draft played out. So I'll wear that. I will wear that. But I got the part about not making 4 fifth-round picks right. I just thought they would make the pick at 45 and then move up in round 3 or 4, not move up in round 2. But I want to give just a quick thought because I want to be on the record. And I understand it's Wednesday by now. The draft wrapped up on Saturday. Everybody's talked about this, dissected it. But I want to be on the record with how I feel about this. In doing this job long enough, the thing that I've learned is that we never really know about the draft. As much as we think we do and we give out grades and we like the draft and all that sort of stuff, whether you love it or hate it, we're never really going to know until 3, 4, 5 years down the line. That's why you see all the people regrade drafts and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I went back this week and looked at a grade on the Saints 2017 draft, which is the best draft ever, and they got a C-. They completely panned the Alvin Kamara pick. But remember, like they had Mark Ingram, they had just signed Adrian Peterson in free agency, and then they move up in round 3 to take a running back. Everybody's going, what the hell are you doing? Well, all Alvin Kamara did was going to be Rookie of the Year and set the Saints franchise record for touchdowns. So we don't really know. So I kind of look at it this way. I say 2 things. Number 1, did you address needs that you had going into the draft? And number 2, do you feel like you got picks at value? And so the needs part, we all knew going into this draft, the biggest need the Saints had was on the offensive line. They took Taliesin Fuanga in round 1. They ended up taking another offensive lineman in round 7. So you got not only a day 1 starter, but you got a project player as well, which is kind of exciting. We also said they had to get receiver. I thought they'd go receiver in round 2, but if you were watching the draft, the run on receivers came at the end of round 1 and the beginning of round 2. You know, where you saw Ricky Pearsall go at the end of round 1, and then you saw Keon Coleman go with the first pick of round 2, and then Ladd McConkey. So the run on receivers came, and so the only other receiver that was taken in round 2 was A.D. Mitchell at the end of the round. So I don't know that at 45 there was someone there at that position the Saints wanted, but they saw great value in Kool-Aid McKinstry, so they went and got him, which I love because that gives you so many options next year. And I kind of look at the Kool-Aid McKinstry pick in the same lens as I did the Ramczyk pick back in 2017 because I know we've mentioned it before, but if you look at 2017, the Saints had Teron Armstead at left tackle. They had Zach Strief at right tackle. They did not need a tackle. They got that pick because they traded Brandon Cooks to New England for their first-round pick, which was number 32 overall. And they took Ramczyk because they were like, we think this is the best right tackle in the draft class. He's sitting there at 32. We're taking him. And lo and behold, Strief tears his ACL. His career's over. Ramczyk starts until now it appears his career might be over. So I guess I look at the McKinstry pick and I say, okay, well, Lattimore's time in New Orleans, like his contract post-June 1, if they move him post-June 1 this year, it becomes much more palatable. It's about $10 million against the cap. So they could move him post-June 1 this year. If not, they could ramp off the deal next year, and they also have to make a decision if they're going to extend Paulson Adebo. If nothing else, you keep one of those guys, get rid of the other, and you've got McKinstry ready to start. So there's a lot of that I like. I think you got great value in the Spencer Rattler pick and in the Ford pick. You know, I happened to be listening to our coverage, the ESPN Radio national coverage, when the Saints took Ford, the linebacker out of Texas, and it was one of the ESPN draft analysts. It was Jordan Reed, is who it was, and he said the way that he would describe Jaylen Ford is consistently inconsistent. Like if you put on the Oklahoma tape from this past year, you'd cringe. But there's so many moments where he was great. Well, look at where you are at linebacker. Demario Davis is getting old. Pete Werner, when he's healthy, he's been really good. You're going to have to make a long-term contract decision about him. You signed Willie Gay to a one-year deal. So you are going to need depth and a potential starter at linebacker, and maybe Jaylen Ford can be that, and you got him in round 5. So I think they did take great value. Look, we talked about Christian Boyd, the defensive lineman out of Northern Iowa. He took one of the top 30 visits to New Orleans. He's one of those guys who was teammates with Trevor Penning. The Saints did their homework on him. He is like, you needed interior defensive line. Well, you got interior defensive line with Christian Boyd, a big 6'2", 320-pound run stuffer. You're bad against the run, stick a big 6'2", 320-pounder in the middle of your defense and get better against the run. You did take a receiver in Bub Means. Means is a guy who played 5 years of college football. So as I kind of look through the whole entirety of the draft, did they address their needs? Yeah. They got a couple offensive linemen. They got a receiver. They got an interior lineman. They even got linebacker. They got a really good cornerback who could be a starter. Do you think you got value? I think they got great value in this draft. So I like what they did. And I love the fact that they took Spencer Rattler. We've talked about it before that, look, in your 57-year history, you've used one first-round pick ever on a quarterback. You've never taken a quarterback in round 2, and you've only used one third-round pick on a quarterback. That was Garrett Grayson. Of course, the first rounder was Archie Manning. That's it. In the top 3 rounds in your 57-year history, you've taken 2 quarterbacks. So if what you're doing isn't working, do something different. And my thing has been play the numbers game. Draft a quarterback every year until you hit. And to get Spencer Rattler in round 5, okay, I'm down with that flyer on Spencer Rattler, who could have tremendous upside. I think they did well. Look, we're not going to know for sure until 2, 3, 4 years down the line how this is all going to play out. But did you address needs and did you get value? Yes. Are there players? Look, we could sit here and say, hey, man, I wish they had gotten Brendan Rice from USC, Jerry Rice's son at receiver. Okay. I wish they got Malik Washington, the receiver out of Virginia. Sure. I mean, there's a lot of convos we can have about players you would have liked them to take in certain spots, and I may not necessarily even disagree with you. But we can't look at it in those terms. We look at it in terms of what they did, who they got in that position, and did it make sense? And I think the Saints did. So I commend them. I think they did a great job in the draft, and we'll see once they hit the practice field and rookie minicamp and training camp to start moving toward the 2024 season. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.